If your heart feels heavy tonight, know this: when you ask God for clarity, He answers. Sometimes by lighting the way, sometimes by lifting the mask. Not everyone beside you is in your corner. And that's okay. God's clarity shows who truly belongs on your journey. This truth may sting, but it frees you. Letting go of the counterfeit makes room for the real. Breathe, trust, and step forward. The pain is refining you, and the best is still ahead. When you pray for clarity, God does not only show you the beautiful parts of the path, He also reveals the shadows that were hiding right beside you. Clarity is not just illumination, it is revelation. It is God gently but firmly removing the blindfold from your spirit so you can finally see what was always there but never visible. When you ask Him to guide your steps, He doesn't just guide your feet, He adjusts your vision. Suddenly, people you trusted start acting differently. Conversations feel heavier, and the behavior you once excused becomes impossible to ignore. This is not coincidence. This is divine exposure. God begins to show you who was pretending, who wore a mask, and who was never meant to walk the next chapter with you. It's painful to realize that some people you held close were only close because they benefited from your presence, not because they truly cared for your growth. Yet this revelation is essential for your protection. Clarity often arrives in quiet, subtle ways. It may come through a moment of stillness, a sudden feeling that something is off, or a shift in someone's tone that you can no longer overlook. Sometimes it arrives through circumstances, doors closing, relationships distancing, or unexpected changes that force you to pay attention. You may wonder why certain people are drifting or why their true intentions are suddenly visible. But the truth is simple. When you ask God for clarity, He removes anything that clouds your vision. He reveals the hearts of those around you, not to create pain, but to prevent greater pain. He shows you the difference between those who walk beside you and those who only walk near you. Proximity does not mean loyalty, and God will make that distinction clear. One of the hardest parts of spiritual clarity is accepting that not everyone you love is meant to go where you're going. Some people are seasonal, not lifelong. They arrive to teach you lessons, not to stay forever, and when God is preparing to elevate you, He cannot allow you to carry dead weight into the next level. There are people who smile in your face but drain your energy behind closed doors. There are those who applaud your struggles but envy your victories. When you pray for clarity, God pulls back the curtain so you can see these truths without illusion. It hurts, but it is necessary. Pain becomes the catalyst that opens your eyes. In this process, God also reveals parts of you that need healing. Sometimes clarity exposes the wounds that kept you tolerating mistreatment, the insecurities that made you settle for less, or the fears that made you hold on to people who consistently hurt you. God shows you not only who they are, but who you have become in their presence. He uses exposure to refine you, to draw you closer to your purpose, and to remind you of your worth. Clarity is never meant to break you, it is meant to rebuild you. And there comes a moment when you must decide whether to trust what God has revealed or ignore it. Holding on to someone God is removing will always end in heartbreak. Letting go is not giving up. It is obedience. It is understanding that what God removes, He replaces with something better. When you release what was false, you create space for what is true. You make room for peace, alignment, and relationships that nurture your growth. Clarity is a gift. Even when it arrives wrapped in discomfort, it protects your heart, redirects your steps, and prepares your future. When God shows you the truth, He is not being cruel, He is being kind. He is safeguarding your destiny, strengthening your spirit, and guiding you into a season where only authenticity can survive. Clarity often arrives slowly, quietly, and in ways that don't feel comfortable at first. It rarely comes as a loud announcement or a sudden flash of insight. Instead, it shows up piece by piece, almost like a puzzle scattered across time. One moment, it's a subtle word someone says that strikes you in a strange way. Another moment, it's an action that doesn't match what a person has been claiming for months. Sometimes it's not even something external. It's a tug in your spirit, a gentle but persistent discomfort that you can't explain logically, but you feel deeply. All these fragments seem insignificant at first, but as days pass, they start connecting, and you begin to see the bigger picture you were previously blind to. This gradual clarity can feel painful, because it often contradicts what you wanted to believe. You may have held on to certain people dreams, or expectations with the hope that they were meant for you. But clarity reveals truth, not preference. It exposes the hidden intentions, the inconsistencies, the silent red flags you ignored, and the deeper reality behind surface-level appearances. And the more clarity grows, the more you realize that not everything that looked good was actually good for you. The people you trusted may not have had pure motives. The opportunities you chased may not have been aligned with your purpose. The situations you tried to force may never have been meant to bloom. This realization hurts, but it also frees you. Clarity rarely rushes because rushing would only confuse you. It unfolds at the pace you're able to handle. Sometimes you only receive one piece of truth at a time because receiving everything all at once would overwhelm you. So the signs appear slowly: a conversation that feels off, a sudden shift in someone's behavior, a quiet moment where your intuition whispers something you don't want to hear. You try to brush it away, but clarity has a way of returning until you pay attention. The more you resist it, the heavier it becomes, because truth insists on being noticed. As the pieces continue to fall into place, you begin to understand why certain situations felt draining. You begin to see why you were uneasy even when everything looked fine. You recognize the patterns you used to overlook. You recognize the inconsistencies you previously excused. You notice how people show you who they truly are through their actions, not their promises. And with every small revelation, the fog in your mind begins to lift. Slowly, the questions you carried for months start to find answers. Slowly, what felt confusing starts to make sense. Slowly, you discover that clarity was never delayed. It was just arriving at the perfect time. The beauty of clarity is that once it fully forms, you can never unsee it. You can't go back to pretending. You can't unknow what has been revealed. And even though it might break your heart, it also protects it. Clarity guards you from repeating old mistakes. It helps you release relationships you outgrew. It guides you away from environments that stunted your growth. It empowers you to make decisions based on truth rather than illusion. You become more grounded, more discerning, and more aligned with your purpose. And when the full picture finally becomes clear, you're able to look back and understand why each small piece mattered. The whispers, the signs, the instincts, the uneasy feelings. They were not random. They were divine signals preparing you for a truth you needed for your next season. In the end, clarity may come gradually and painfully, but it transforms you. It strengthens your spirit, sharpens your judgment, and leads you to the people, places, and paths that truly belong in your life. Not everyone standing next to you is standing with you, and this is a lesson life teaches slowly, often through disappointment and quiet realizations. Proximity does not equal loyalty. Just because someone is physically close, present in your daily life, or appearing to support your dreams does not mean their heart is aligned with yours. Some people walk beside you because your path is beneficial to them. They enjoy the light you carry, the opportunities your effort creates, or the strength you naturally offer. They stay as long as there is something to gain, but their presence is conditional, and their loyalty has an expiration date. It's easy to mistake their closeness for commitment, especially when you're someone who gives sincerely, trusts deeply, and assumes others operate with the same integrity. But life eventually reveals the truth. Motives matter, and proximity can be one of the most deceptive appearances in human relationships. The painful part is that these people often blend in well. They may speak the right words, share encouraging moments, or show up just enough to look trustworthy. Yet beneath the surface, they are not invested in you. They are invested in what being around you provides. Their attachment is selective. They celebrate you only when your success benefits them. They cheer you on only when it doesn't threaten them. They remain close only as long as your journey aligns with their convenience. The moment your growth challenges their comfort or your success outshines their expectations, their true nature gradually surfaces. You start noticing small hints, envy disguised as jokes, subtle withdrawal when you succeed, or a lack of presence when you need support. These signs may seem small, but they signal a deeper truth. They were never walking with you, only next to you. Understanding this reality is not meant to make you bitter, it's meant to make you discerning. When you don't recognize the difference between proximity and loyalty, you let the wrong people shape your environment and influence your decisions. You allow voices that don't genuinely care for you to speak into your life. You share dreams with people who secretly hope you fail or never surpass them. You depend on support that collapses the moment you face difficulty. It's not that these people hate you. Many of them simply love themselves more. They see you as a stepping stone, a shelter, or a convenient source of strength. Their connection is transactional, not relational. As you grow, clarity reveals who is truly for you, the ones who support you consistently, not selectively, the ones who remain steady when life gets heavy, the ones who don't shrink or become threatened when you win. Loyal people don't need your spotlight. They want your well-being. Their presence is anchored, not opportunistic. You see their loyalty in the way they speak about you when you're not around, and how they stand with you during conflict, and how they celebrate your victories with genuine joy and no hidden jealousy. These are the individuals who walk with you because of who you are, not because of what you provide. Learning to distinguish between these types of people is a form of self-protection. It prevents you from misplacing trust and investing energy where there is no reciprocity. It teaches you not to confuse access with allegiance. You begin to understand that real loyalty is felt in actions, not in proximity. When you stop assuming everyone beside you is for you, you make space for healthier, stronger connections. You learn to walk with those who truly value your presence, not those who only value your benefits. And in that shift, you elevate your journey by surrounding yourself with individuals who strengthen you, not drain you, who uplift you, not use you, who walk with you out of loyalty, not convenience. God exposes darkness in your life not to shame you, embarrass you, or break your spirit, but to protect you and prepare you for what comes next. When something is hidden, it has power over you. When something operates in the dark, it can drain you without your awareness. That is why God reveals what you cannot see, not to hurt you, but to free you. His revelations often come at the exact moment you need them, even if they feel painful or unexpected. You may discover the truth about a person you trusted, a habit you relied on, an environment you settled for, or a mindset you didn't realize was holding you back. These revelations are rarely comfortable, but they are always intentional. God removes what blocks your growth, what burdens your heart, and what silently pulls you away from your purpose. Exposure is not punishment, it is divine protection. When God exposes darkness, He is clearing space in your life for what aligns with your calling. Some things cannot go with you into your next season, not because they are evil, but because they are too small for the life you're meant to build. Some people are not bad people, but they are not meant for the level you are stepping into. Some opportunities look good, but are a distraction from your true assignment. Some relationships feel familiar, but drain your energy and dilute your identity. Exposure helps you see these truths so you can release what no longer serves your growth. The process may feel like loss, but it is actually preparation. God removes what you would have held on to too tightly because He knows it would become a barrier to your progress. Often God reveals darkness quietly. You feel a shift in someone's behavior. You sense distance in a relationship that once felt close. You notice actions that don't match words. You experience sudden discomfort in a place that once felt normal. These subtle signs are not coincidences, they are signals. God is opening your eyes. He is lifting the veil. He is showing you what you were blind to because of love, loyalty, habit, or hope. And as the truth becomes clearer, you may feel hurt, disappointed, or confused. But eventually you understand that God was not trying to destroy anything. He was trying to save you from what would have destroyed you. The exposure of darkness can also happen within yourself. God brings to light the thoughts, patterns, fears, and wounds you've buried. Not to condemn you, but to heal you. He reveals insecurities so you can overcome them. He exposes unhealthy attachments so you can break them. He brings old pain to the surface so it can finally be released instead of suppressed. He uncovers pride, bitterness, avoidance, or self-sabotage so they can no longer limit you. This kind of exposure feels uncomfortable because it requires honesty, self-reflection, and humility. But it is through this internal cleansing that God strengthens your character and prepares your spirit for greater responsibilities. With every exposure, God is building clarity. He is shaping your discernment. He is sharpening your judgment so you no longer confuse loyalty with proximity, love with attachment, or comfort with alignment. He teaches you to recognize energy that drains, people who pretend, and environments that limit your spirit. You begin to see with spiritual eyes instead of emotional ones. You start choosing differently, thinking differently, and walking differently, not because you became cold, but because you finally became clear. And once darkness is exposed, You are no longer bound by it. You reclaim energy. You regain peace. You step into decisions with confidence. You walk forward with lighter steps because what was hidden no longer controls you. In that space of freedom, God begins to fill your life with relationships, opportunities, and growth that truly align with your purpose. What was removed makes room for what was meant. What was revealed becomes the foundation for wisdom. What once felt like a painful exposure becomes the very thing that protected you, prepared you, and positioned you for the next chapter of your life. Letting go is not a sign of weakness, failure, or defeat. Letting go is an act of faith, a deep and courageous trust that what God is removing from your life is no longer meant to stay. When you cling to something God is trying to take away, you unintentionally prolong your own pain. You hold on to relationships that exhaust you, habits that limit you, opportunities that distract you, and environments that shrink you. You think you're fighting for something noble, but in reality, you're resisting divine protection. Letting go is not giving up. It is giving God permission to lead. It is choosing peace over attachment, purpose over comfort, and alignment over fear. It takes strength to release something familiar, but even more strength to trust that what comes next will be better. Many people misunderstand letting go. They think it means abandoning their efforts or accepting defeat, but in truth, letting go is often the most spiritually mature thing you can do. It is recognizing when a season has ended, when a chapter has served its purpose, or when a relationship has completed its assignment. You cannot step into new blessings with hands full of emotional clutter. You cannot receive what God has prepared for you while holding tightly to what drains you. Release is necessary for renewal. God cannot fill spaces that you refuse to empty. When you let go, you signal to heaven that you are ready for the next step, ready for the next level, and ready for the blessings designed for your growth. Chasing what God is removing always leads to unnecessary suffering. When someone walks away, you chase. When something falls apart, you try to rebuild it. When a door closes, you push harder. When a season ends, you pretend it's still alive. All of this comes from fear. Fear of loss, fear of uncertainty, fear of being alone, fear of starting over. But fear is not faith. Faith trusts that God never subtracts without intending to add. Faith believes that endings are divine beginnings in disguise. Faith understands that if something is slipping from your hands, it is because it was never meant to carry you into the next phase of your destiny. Holding on to what God is trying to remove is like dragging dead weight into a future that requires lightness, clarity, and strength. Letting go creates space for healing, space for new relationships, space for unexpected opportunities, and space for God's timing to unfold. You may not see the blessing immediately. You may feel the emptiness before you feel the joy, but this space is necessary. Without it, your life becomes cluttered with emotional residue that blocks growth. Clutter isn't just physical, it is mental and spiritual. It is the weight of unanswered questions, unresolved pain, and unhealed attachments. It is the heaviness of trying to make something work that God has already released. When you finally let go, you breathe differently. You think differently. You live differently. Your spirit becomes lighter and your vision becomes clearer. Letting go is also a declaration of trust in God's plan. It is saying, I don't understand this, but I believe you do. It is acknowledging that God sees beyond the moment, beyond your fears, and beyond your limited perspective. What feels like loss to you may be protection from something unseen. What feels like an ending may be preparation for something greater. God removes what you would settle for in order to give you what you are destined for. But He cannot give you more if you refuse to release less. Eventually, you will look back and realize that letting go wasn't losing, it was being rescued. You'll see that what you released made room for something healthier, stronger, and more aligned with your purpose. You'll recognize that every goodbye you feared was actually a doorway to blessings you couldn't imagine at the time. Letting go is not defeat. It is faith in motion, a spiritual reset, and the beginning of a future that God has crafted specifically for you. A future you can only receive with open, uncluttered hands. Healing and growth often begin at the very point where pain becomes impossible to ignore. Exposure, whether it reveals truth about others or truth about yourself, breaks the illusions you once depended on. That breaking hurts, but it is also the doorway to transformation. Pain is not just suffering. Pain is information. It signals what needs to change, what needs to be released. what needs attention, and what needs healing. When something painful is exposed, it forces you to confront reality instead of living in denial or pretending everything is fine. And although the initial shock feels overwhelming, the exposure is actually the beginning of refinement. Pain has a way of stripping away illusions, sharpening awareness, and teaching you resilience that comfort never could. Pain refines you because it reveals what you can survive. It shows you your inner strength even when you feel weakest. You discover that heartbreak didn't destroy you, betrayal didn't stop your purpose, loss didn't erase your worth, and disappointment didn't steal your future. This realization builds resilience, not the cold, hardened kind, but the grounded strength that comes from surviving storms. You become more discerning, more aware of your boundaries, and more protective of your peace. Pain teaches you to listen to intuition, to trust your instincts, and to pay attention to patterns instead of excuses. You begin to understand what drains you and what nourishes you. You learn what you need, what you deserve, and what you will no longer tolerate. In this way, pain becomes a teacher, not an enemy. Pain also deepens compassion. When you've been wounded, you develop empathy for others who are hurting. You understand struggle because you've tasted it. You recognize silent battles because you've fought your own. Pain softens your heart in a way that makes you more patient, more understanding, and more aware of how fragile people can be. You become someone who listens more deeply and judges less quickly. The compassion that grows from pain is a gift. It allows you to connect with others authentically, without pretending or performing. It makes you human in the truest sense, someone who can offer kindness because you know its value. But healing doesn't just appear on its own. Healing begins with acknowledgement, the courage to admit what hurt you, who hurt you, and how deeply it impacted you. Many people try to heal by avoiding their pain or numbing it, but avoidance only delays the process. Acknowledgement is the first step because you cannot heal what you refuse to face. Once you face it, you can begin treating it with care instead of judgment. Healing also requires self-care, not as a trend or aesthetic, but as a real commitment to your emotional, mental, and spiritual well-being. You learn to rest without guilt, to protect your boundaries without apologizing, and to give yourself the patience you often gave others. Forgiveness is another essential part of healing, but not in the way people usually think. Forgiveness does not mean excusing the hurt or welcoming harmful people back. Forgiveness means releasing the emotional grip they have on your life. It means freeing your heart from resentment so you can reclaim your peace. You forgive not because they deserve it, but because your soul needs the freedom. Most importantly, healing requires shifting your focus away from the pain and toward your own growth. You begin investing in your future instead of reliving your past. You start building new habits, forming healthier connections, and learning skills that support your evolution. You pour into your goals, your purpose, and your identity. Growth becomes your new direction. Over time, you begin to notice changes. You react differently, choose differently, and think differently. The pain that once felt unbearable becomes the foundation of a wiser, stronger version of you. Exposure may have wounded you, but it also awakened you. Pain may have shaken you, but it also shaped you. And healing, once slow and uncertain, eventually becomes a doorway through which you step into a higher, healthier version of yourself. The message of this entire journey is simple yet transformative. Clarity, exposure, pain, release, and healing are not separate events. They are connected steps in your spiritual growth. God reveals truth not to break you, but to free you. He exposes darkness to protect your purpose, removes what drains you to make room for what aligns with your destiny, and allows pain to refine you into someone wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. Every moment of discomfort becomes a doorway to deeper understanding. Every ending becomes preparation for a new beginning. Every loss becomes a clearing for greater blessings. And every painful truth becomes a tool that sharpens your discernment and strengthens your faith. Letting go is not a defeat. It is the courage to trust God more than your fear. Healing is not a quick fix. It is a commitment to choose growth over bitterness, forgiveness over resentment, and peace over chaos. When you stop chasing what God has removed, when you stop confusing proximity with loyalty, and when you finally allow clarity to guide your steps, you step into a life that is lighter, stronger, and more aligned with who you were always meant to be. Your journey is not about holding on. It is about becoming. And everything God removes, reveals, or allows is shaping you into the person capable of walking boldly into your future. The conclusion is this: you are not losing. You are being prepared, positioned, and elevated. Trust the process, honor your healing, walk in discernment, and remember that everything happening in your life is guiding you toward a purpose far greater than what you can currently see.